Hi there, I'm Tricia and I'm founder of Look Fabulous Forever, and we make products specifically formulated for older faces. And actually today that's what I'm going to concentrate on by showing you a full makeup that I'm going to apply to my face, and I'm going to tell you for each product just why this formulation works best for somebody like me who is in her late 70s, because otherwise why would you buy a specifically formulated makeup if it hasn't got particular properties that work well now that your features, your face, your skin, everything about you is less young, or should I say older? Anyway, however you want to characterize it, let's get going. I've actually started and I've applied this already with what I think is probably the most essential product when you've got older skin, and that's a face primer. Now, as I said, I've already applied it because I just want it to settle on my skin before I start putting my foundation on. But if I tell you that I usually do a couple of pumps, so that's the amount that you need, not very much in other words. And I lightly apply that all over my face. Now this is our hero product. It's, you know, we sell a lot of this and we sell it because it's just so beautiful. It feels like silk on the skin, but the point about it is that it does two very, very important jobs. One is it starts by smoothing your skin out. So it gives it a lovely, soft, smooth appearance, texture and feel. And then what it does, it actually acts on the skin to make sure that your makeup doesn't disappear after a couple of hours. I put my makeup on first thing in the morning, and when I go to bed several hours later, sometimes I don't go to bed till midnight, my makeup still looks, well, pretty much as it did when I put it on in the morning. The reason for that are the three primers that I use. The first is the face primer, all three of which I'm going to show you. So I've put a layer of that over my whole face, ready for the next product that I'm going to apply, which is our wonderful foundation. Here it is. You can see that I've already used half of this. This is our O2 foundation. I absolutely love it. Why is this better if you've got an older face or older skin? Well, because you need a combination of lightness with coverage. One of the reasons I started Look Fabulous all those years ago was because I was buying foundation made for younger skin. It was too thin. It promised all sorts of things, you know, great coverage, luminescence, this, that and the other, but actually I didn't get any of those things. I found that it would not actually cover the sort of, you know, the blotches that I've got, which are here and here. The general fact that my skin tone isn't particularly even. So I was very, very unhappy. So I started Look Fabulous Forever. And as they say, the rest is history. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this on the back of my hand, like that. I'm going to use this lovely stubby brush here that we've got. We've got two foundation brushes, but this one really works well. And I'm just going to start applying my continuous cover foundation over my face. So I use circular movements and I start to evenly distribute this product over my skin. Now this is doing lots of different things. It's giving me a little bit of colour, more colour than I have without it, but not too much, because you don't want that line here between, you know, what's going on in your face and what's going on your neck. So you want it to be more or less the colour of your skin, but also, of course, it's nice if it does add a little bit of warmth. But the important thing is that my entire face, when I've finished, is going to look unified in terms of the skin tone. So there's not going to be patches, there's not going to be bits that are blotchy. Now, having used the brush, I always use my fingers, and I use my fingers because your fingers are warm. They're warm. Your skin, the skin on your hands is warm. And what that helps me to do is to just ensure that I have a really lovely, even coverage for that foundation. I go over my jawline always, like that. So that's two of my really important essential products applied, my primer and my foundation. I'm really happy with the effect that I've got. It's a good basis on which to then build the rest of my look. So the next thing that I'm going to do is to apply a blusher. A blusher is probably one of the most wonderful ways that you can add colour and health to the way that you look. Now, our blusher is a cream to powder formulation, and I like to apply it using a brush. The colour, by the way, that I'm using here is Desert Rose. I use this every day, and I like to apply it like this. So I'm doing this motion here, starting center of the eye and then lifting. I think this is the most flattering way for me to apply my blusher, because to me, the effect should be to kind of bring my face to life and kind of lift everything. It's hard to describe. I love the moment I put my blusher on. I just think it's just the most fantastic product. I really do. You can never put too much on, because if you do you think, oh, that's a bit overdone, you can take a big fat brush like this and just work it in. Okay, so I put my blusher on now. I'm happy with my face, and now it's time to move on to my eyes, which without my eye makeup just really look quite small, quite insignificant, and very badly defined. You can't really see my eyes particularly clearly, and yet I can make them look so much better with some eye makeup. I'm going to start with my brows. Brows being incredibly important. I'm going to start by just using my spoolie brush to get them into good shape. They're not too bad, my brows, but they aren't very, they aren't very well defined, let's put it that way. And I don't like them to look too heavy, but at the same time, I do like them to look as though I've actually got brows, because they frame my eyes, they frame my whole face actually, which is important. So I'm going to use our brow shade. The colour that I'm using is grey. So I always do a little bit on the back of my hand before I start, partly to make sure I haven't got too much product on the brush, and also to just get the brush ready to start the application. Now for me, I need to do sort of some length here, put a little bit more definition into this bit, and keep it pretty much light on the rest of it. So I'm going to start with that inner bit, like that. You see that? So compare it to that. You can obviously see the difference, which is important. And now I'm going to come towards the end of my brows, and I'm just going to stroke that product down to add a bit of length, and then joining the two bits up, going across and down, following the natural shape of my eyebrows. And then when I've done that, I'm just going to take the spoolie again and very gently just make sure that I'm happy with the way that my brows look. As I said, I don't want to put a huge amount of product on, but again, if you compare that brow to that brow, I think it's made a difference, an important difference, but it isn't overdone, and that's terribly important to me. So I'm just going to do the other one now. Okay, so I'm really happy with my brows now, and what I'm going to do is to apply some eye primer. You just add a little bit onto the eyelids, and it covers any discoloration that you've got. It smooths the skin, so it stops your makeup. It's a crepiness on your eyelids from interfering with how your makeup looks. It's a really brilliant product. I don't know what I'd do without it, basically. It's just so good. And I use this little brush here, which is our concealer brush, and I put a little bit like that to the middle of my eyelid, and then I use my fingers, again the warmth of my fingers, to just smooth that in. Also, because it's this creamy colour, what you can do is use it as a kind of creamy eyeshadow, i.e., you know, that's it, that's all you do, put on perhaps a bit of eyeliner and mascara, which I will do sometimes if I'm in a hurry. But anyway, that's the eye primer. Next thing that I'm going to do is apply my lovely eyeshadows. So I'm going to start with this brush, our number 7 eyeshadow brush, and I'm just going to put some of that Bluebell product onto it, and then protecting the top of my cheeks with this pad of cotton wool, I'm going to start to build the colour up. Don't worry too much about this, the precision with which you're doing this, because you're going to use another clean brush and you're just going to blend that in. So this doesn't have to be enormously precise. The reason I'm doing it like this is to make my eyes look wider, bigger, and to add that little bit of colour and shadow. It's eyeshadow, and shadow is all about creating illusions to make your eyes look, say, better defined, and so on. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, concentrating on this outer area, probably the outer third of my eyelids, and then up into the socket area. So that's what I'm going to do. Why are these shadows better when you're older? Because basically they're adding shape and definition and colour without drawing attention to some of the problems that you might have with your eyes. Obviously my eyelids are no longer the way that they used to be when I was younger. They're crepier, they're drier, they can grab onto product if you're not careful. Anything shiny just looks horrible. I mean, really horrible. It seems to draw attention to all the problems that I've got, all the flaws that I've got, and it's just incredibly unflattering, I find now. So that's why I really love these matte eyeshadows, because I think you can get a fantastically flattering effect and it's not drawing attention to the problems. And I said I've used this brush, which I keep. I wash it fairly frequently and I keep it clean so that I can use it for blending. Now I'm going to use the darkest colour, which is the Midnight Blue. And again, I'm going to use this to form a line along the lashes, protecting the underneath bit. I'm going to use my mirror over here to do this because it's actually quite difficult for me to see in the computer screen. So I'm using this wedge brush. There it is, little wedge brush. Brush number 8. I'm almost leaning my brush against my eyelashes as I stroke the product along. Can you see that? Again, contrast it with that one. It's quite a subtle effect, and what I love about it is because I'm using shadow, it doesn't have to be too precise, and if I make any kind of mistake, I can get a little cotton bud here and I can just rub it along and correct the mistake. So you don't have to be super careful, which I like. So I'm going to do the other one. Same thing. Protect. You're stopping the product falling down onto your top of your cheekbones and then having to get rid of that afterwards. So just make sure that doesn't happen. I've used those two eyeshadows, Bluebell and Midnight Blue, matte eyeshadows, using the right brushes in order to give definition and to make my eyes look bigger and better. And now I'm going to move to the two products that I think are essential for your lips. So the next thing I'm going to do is to apply 2 lip products, essential when you're older because of the way that your lipstick might feather and bleed into the lines around your mouth, creating a fuzzy edge, which I absolutely loathe. So the way around that is to use our wonderful lip primer and just to stroke that product using the wand on the edges. So you're not putting it all over your lips, you're just putting it on the edges. It looks like such a little thing that, gosh, it's important. I need to let it dry, and you can see that I do, again, using my finger, I just rub it in to make sure that the product is combined into that bit of skin where my skin meets my lips. Okay, so I've applied my lip primer and now I'm going to put some lipstick on. I've chosen fuchsia because I love it. And here we go. Gorgeous. So that's me more or less done. And so there you have it. That's my finished look. I'm very happy with that. And I hope I've demonstrated why each of the products that I've used is so good when you have an older face like mine. Each is designed to work in a specific way to overcome a problem or to enhance an area in the best and most fabulous way possible. That's why we're called Look Fabulous Forever. So I do hope you enjoyed that. And if you did enjoy it, can you please like the video underneath? That makes sure that other people see it. And of course, subscribe to our channel if you haven't already done so. That's incredibly important. And if you want to leave a comment below, we always welcome comments, or ask a question, and we can come back to you with the answer as soon as we can. So again, thank you for watching.